I'm Julia Sondu, showing you where development is happening. Please come and join us. ICJ badmouths Israel for 35 minutes, then Israel wins, says analysis. This was about whether a global sanctions movement against Israel would get a new huge club to wield against the Jewish state. For 35 minutes, the International Court of Justice bad-mouthed Israel, but then it surprised the Jewish state by not issuing any practical orders against the IDF. There was no order to cease the war, and there was no order for the IDF to withdraw from Gaza. The most troubling practical item in the ruling for Israel is the need to report back to the ICJ in 1 month. All of the other measures that the ICJ ordered are items that Israel says it agrees with in general. Facilitate humanitarian aid, preserve evidence and prosecute Israelis who engage in illegal incitement against Palestinians. To understand the complex ICJ decision and why this was a big win for Israel, one needs to understand the difference between declarative and operative law. Declarative law is basically asking or advising a party to do something but with no teeth. Only operative law has teeth and punishments. No definitive action against Israel taken. Israel's critics hoped there would be an order to end the war and withdraw the IDF. They had every right to expect such a result after ICJ declared Israel's West Bank security barrier illegal in 2004 and ordered Israel to remove it. This would have put Israel in the uncomfortable position of either giving up on its national security to comply or being a public offender of the ICJ's decisions. This would also have put Israel's allies in a much harder position and possibly led some of them to penalize Israel diplomatically and even economically. All of this would have had a real-world impact on Israel and the war effort. Instead, the ICJ heavily criticized Israel for Palestinian civilians and causing destruction but avoided any immediate conflagration with Israel. The 1-month time period could also work with US and EU ally positions that the intensity of the war must wind down. This would not mean that in 1 month the IDF withdraws, but Israel could at some point declare that the formal war was over, and that officially IDF activities in Gaza have shifted to more of a law enforcement paradigm closer to what goes on in the West Bank, and firing on them only in self-defense. Israel could also leave exceptions for operations relating to eliminating Hamas's leaders and rescuing Israeli hostages, but those would be targeted special operations, not a full-fledged war. Some Israelis will be furious with the 35 minutes of badmouthing Israel, of treating biased UN officials as neutral, of ignoring the rocket fire on Israel after October 7th. The judges did recognize October 7th, of ignoring Israel's massive efforts to evacuate Palestinian civilians and avoid harming them even at the cost of allowing Hamas leaders to escape, and of leaving out Hamas's systematic abuse of hospitals, mosques, schools and all of Gaza as one big human shield. But that was not what this game was about. The rhetorical battle was never going to go Israel's way. This was about whether a global sanctions movement against Israel would get a new huge club to wield against the Jewish state. And on that issue, Jerusalem just dodged a massive bullet. Why both South Africa and Israel are welcoming the UN court's ruling in a landmark case. A historic ruling by the United Nations top court in a case against Israel on Friday was welcomed by the 3 main parties it involved: Israel, South Africa and the Palestinians. But at the same time, no one got what they asked for. The International Court of Justice in The Hague, the Netherlands, ordered Israel to take all measures to prevent Gaza after South Africa accused Israel of violating international laws in its war in the territory. It rejected Israel's request for the case to be thrown out, but it also stopped short of ordering Israel to halt the war as South Africa has asked. "I would have wanted a ceasefire," said South African Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor after the ruling in The Hague. She said that she was still satisfied with the outcome. Israel went to war with Hamas in Gaza after the Palestinian militant group launched attack on the country on October 7th and taking more than 250 people hostage, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, and left much of the enclave in ruins. Israel has pledged not to stop its campaign until all the remaining hostages are released and Hamas is destroyed. The case at the ICJ marks the first time Israel has been brought before the court on accusations of violating the 1948 UN Convention, which was drafted in part due to the Jewish people in the Holocaust during the Second World War. Still, many Israelis hailed the ruling on Friday as a win for the Jewish state. Aylan Levi, an Israeli government spokesperson, said the court dismissed South Africa's ridiculous demand to tell Israel to stop defending its people and fighting for the hostages. Avi Meir, the former editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post, called it a devastating blow to those accusing the Jewish state. The most dramatic thing is that no ceasefire was ordered, Shelley Aviv Yaini, head of the International Law Department at Israel's Haifa University, told CNN, adding that a potential ceasefire order was Israel's biggest fear, especially as it would have come as over 100 hostages remain in Gaza. The discourse in Israel has so far focused on only ending the war once the hostages are freed, she said, adding that Israel would have struggled to live with a ceasefire order that doesn't guarantee the return of the captives. So, I think this is quite an expected outcome, and something that Israel will be able to comply with, she said, adding that the court's order for Israel to deliver humanitarian aid and report back to the ICJ on its actions is doable. Sable said that while he is absolutely convinced that the ICJ will eventually find Israel not guilty, he worries that by that time, the public may have forgotten that. If they had asked us to stop defending ourselves, we would have had a problem, and at least we don't have that problem, he said. For some Palestinians, however, the court's ruling didn't go far enough. Mohammed El-Kurd, a Palestinian activist from Jerusalem, said the ICJ failed on South Africa's most important request to suspend the military operations. Not shocking, but stings nonetheless, he said on X, formerly Twitter. Until the Israeli regime's assault on Gaza stops, we should keep protesting and disrupting in every way possible. This is today's lesson, he said. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlog same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Thank you.